Good afternoon, everyone. If you thought you'd walk through the door for a talk about how to hack web applications, cheat at online games, or feeding a cat with a Roomba, you've come to the wrong room. It just turns out you've fallen for a phishing scam, and the door was the bait. Lucky for you, I'm only here to steal your time so my cat can knock it off at 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, I hope I have your attention, unlike my cat who walked out when I rehearsed the first slide. Thank you all for coming to my Wackafish talk. It's my very first public talk, so I'm very nervous, and unlike my cat, I hope you don't walk out. So please excuse me if I come across nervous, flustered, or lose my voice. Those that know me know that it's way out of my comfort zone, and I'm challenging myself. I'm looking forward to sharing this talk with you all, and hope it sparks some conversations after the conference or during. Right, time to put on your detective hats. I'm about to show you two pictures, and I want you to tell me which is not the fake. Don't worry, no PhD in forensics is required. I'll give you a moment to have a look at the first one. Now look at the second one. I'll give you another moment for the first one. And then number two. Raise your hands if you think number two was the fake. If you chose number one, congratulations. You've just earned yourself some quality time with no before, while the scammers are going to be spending your money like it's Monopoly cash. And you're going to be on hold to your bank explaining to them why you ordered 75 cans of tuna addressed to Dingleberry Jones. Raise your hand if you've ever had to cancel your credit card because of fraud. It's not a fun way to spend a day or a week. I've always loved solving puzzles and challenges, so hunting phishing emails and tracking them back to the source to take them down has always been my kind of fun. We'll look at some real phishing campaigns I've come across and see how they operate and see if we can figure out any patterns. I'll dive into some tools and services and figure out if we can flip the switch, moving from being reactive to get ahead of the curve, all while facing the challenges that comes with it. Because why would it be so easy? And finally, we'll talk about how we as a community and industry can tackle this threat together, even when it feels like you're chasing a laser pointer. A little bit about myself. I'm Geoffrey Chisnall, aka Mooncake. I love to torture myself on the ultra trail marathons. If anyone asks, I'm not interested in the Comrades Marathon. I'm an avid gamer. I don't play FPS shooters because I suck at them, but I love to play indie and MOBA games. I'm a security analyst at Orange Cyber Defense, and I love to break things. I'm a staff member at Hack South, one of the largest South African ethical hacking Discord communities, and one of the organizers that kept down BSides. Right, let's get into it. What is phishing? Phishing is basically when a scammer throws digital bait and hoping you'll bite and cough up your passwords and credit cards. The classic hook, line, and sinker, except you're the fish and your wallet's the prize. I'm pretty sure I'm talking to a technical audience, so phishing should be familiar for you all, unless you failed the challenge that I showed earlier, and I'll just give you a brief summary of what phishing is. There are many flavors to this sneaky scam. Mass email phishing, such as your bank emailing you, SARS, Netflix, and even Uber. Spear phishing, this is more targeted at individuals or organizations. Smishing, this is when you get a phishing into your mobile phone. Phishing is when the scammer actually picks up the phone and pretends to be your bank. Another one is your QR phishing. Here they just make you scan a QR code like BSides Joburg. Domain spoofing. What is domain spoofing? It is when an attacker registers a domain that looks almost exactly identical to the real deal. The goal, so that when you glance at an email or click the link, it looks perfectly legitimate, unless you squint really hard and notice that typo or swap letters. So let's go over some of the different types of domain spoofing. You have your typo squatting, your subdomain spoofing, your combo squatting, your cousin domains, and your homograph attacks. All right, come with me on a little adventure. We'll trawl through some real phishing scams I've come across. As we poke around, let's see if we can spot some of the indicators that these scammers use, and see if we can use them to try and be more proactive later on, because honestly, no cat deserves to be in the hands of a scammer. So last year, I sent a message on my socials to ask for some phishing links so I could investigate and solve the puzzles that I like. Hippen, aka Ross, dropped me a message and said, hey, here's a link. So this is where my fun started. So here's an email that claims that you have 24,000 unredeemed e-bucks with an HTML file attached. So one thing I like to do is I like to use online tools, one such being as VirusTotal, where you can throw suspicious links or files in there and it will give you any signs of any indicators of maliciousness. So here you can see uploading the HTML file, it gave 2 indicators that you can see. One other thing I like to do is to look at the source code. Sometimes VirusTotal and the likes don't have new campaigns that are on at the moment. So you can, if you look at the source code, you can see any indicators of maliciousness there. So as we can see there, there's a none.php. A further look in that PHP file, we can see 2 variables in there, site URL2 and site URL. Site URL2 had a reference to alhosner.net, which at the time was not available, so I threw it in the Internet Wayback Machine. For those that don't know what that is, it is a digital Internet archive where you can view a website at any point at a given time. So throwing that into the Wayback Machine, we can see that it was from 2018 and some Arabic educational site, which I assumed was compromised. So looking at the continue 0, 1, and 3, we can see some references to a AZN internet banking, which was from New Zealand and Australia. Further down, we see that there was reference to FNB, and as well as Standard Bank. So clearly this phishing kit has been used in multiple campaigns. So now we look at the actual phishing page. Here they get the user to enter their credentials, coaxing them to cough up their money. Here we have to validate their card number, ATM PIN, and so forth. Another thing that you can look at is directory listing. Sometimes usually a compromised site, they don't have their directory list. They got the directory listing enabled. You can then see what type of files are there and see how to further investigate. Here we can see there is 1 is the home page, 2 is the verification page, 3 is the OTP, couple of CSS and image folders, and then an interesting PHP folder. In the PHP folder, we see the 3 files that we saw, 0, 1, and 3. don't ask me where the second one is. Doesn't seem they can count. There's a PHP Lite folder and a SQLite PHP. So we look at the PHP admin PHP. It's got some authentication on there. I tried to do some default passwords, but yeah, none worked. There was a results.db file, but sadly it was not accessible. That made me sad. I assumed this file would have contained the credentials of suspecting victims, but noticed that the date was 4 years prior. So either this was part of some other phishing kit or that no creds were actually being sent there. But yeah, I have no idea why that file was there. So nothing further to look at the site. I decided to look through GitHub for references to the F&B FICA. I found a few repositories there. Having looked at the repositories, one was forked from the original, but this was from 4 to 5 years ago. Cloning it so one could see what phishing kits they were loading. Sadly, this error came up that the GitHub LFS was over quota. So I did a quick Google search for this and found out that the person maintaining it didn't have time to maintain it anymore. So it was time to do a takedown notice. I sent an email and was hoping, sometimes you send them and you have not much luck, but the next day, yeah, smash, got one. So the next one was just a credit card monthly e-statement, also with an HTML file, the reference to a matsulam.com. This was also clearly a compromised site being hosted at Namecheap. This is just the front page. This one had directory listing. Then there was an interesting admin folder. Within the admin folder was a debug folder, along with some various PHP files. But one interesting file was a MP3 file that was a 3-second clip of a Morse code. Truly bizarre. In the debug folder, I saw numerous debugging logs, which I assumed would give us indication of what was behind the scenes. I was right. We can actually see the post requests being made, which seemed to be to another server on the 27th of July. More logs from a few days later, we can see that the site they were posting to on the 31st of July started giving a 403, which says that the site that they're trying to post to was taken down. We can see there that it was taken down because of their terms of services. A few days later, we can see that they actually used another site as their previous one was taken down, and this time they were using a local2.net domain. But in this one, I actually noticed that there were actual legitimate credentials of a victim that was entering their username and password. So with that, I did a takedown notice, sent an email to Namecheap detailing what I saw. They replied back to say not sufficient evidence, which I was really confused. So I'd sent them, come at me, bro. I'm going to just even be more hard on you. And every day since then, I was looking at my email to see if they sent me to say that it was taken down. But on the seventh day, I got the account suspended, and that's another one. So you all should know this one. You receive an SMS of an outstanding courier payment that is required. So user would be a URL shortener to the URL scam, and in this case, a horribly spelled thecourierguy.buzz. 2 R's, well, 2 double R's, yeah. But remember back to domain spoofing. Trixies they are. So this page consists of you entering your credit card details and a CVC. Shouldn't that be CVV? They can't even spell. And then your bank name. So another thing, once you complete the whole process, to go back home, it actually redirects you to the Courier Guy legitimate site. So if someone goes through the page, they won't really notice what's just happened. So intercepting the request through Verb Suite, we can see 3 distinct post requests: a product store, a product card, and a product code. The last 2 just being a OTP. So we'll focus on the product store. In the request, we can see the request being done, and that was being done with a post request. What happens if we do a GET request? I did this, and it gave a nice verbose error message, which allowed me to look at the directory structure below. And in this case, it was under the home folder, take elot. Maybe it's a reference to take a lot. So now, because this did not look like a compromised site, and this was actually a site that was registered by a scammer, I would usually use subdomain enumeration. So I used a tool called sublister, and I created my own little script which uses sublister and various other things. And it uses some providers such as VirusTotal and Netcraft to search for other subdomains on those. Here I found the domain to be behind Cloudflare, but I noticed an additional domain there. So doing the same thing as the previous, we look for further subdomains on the takeelot.live, and we see that there's references to RAM Courier, SARS, and Takealot, which, yeah, it's been used for multiple campaigns. But we will notice that it's also being used on the same IP and hosting provider. So just to confirm, the ramcourier.buzz was in the same folder structure as the rest. And once we do a NS lookup on the IP address, we can see that it's been hosted at the Onion host. So I sent a takedown notice listing all the domains that I found. 6 hours later, the account is suspended and the websites are taken down. I just confirmed, and we got one. Does that classify as one? So this is becoming kind of fun, like whack-a-mole Mario style. This time we have another courier payment for import duty tax for 16 Rand 13 cents. Here we have a URL shortener, goes to an r2.dev domain. Long string before that. We get the following page, confirm. And while I was editing this slide, well, my slides 2 days ago, I only noticed this now, even after a while seeing this for a while. The grand total did not match up. They can't count and they can't spell. So we go through the whole process again. Credit card, OTP, and yeah, scammers got monopoly money. At this stage, I switched to a project discovery sub-finder tool, as this actually surpassed the tool I did, which was using the sublister. And this tool, the sub-finder tool, uses many more providers such as VirusTotal, Whois XML API, SearchSpotter, but using this, you need to have an API key, and there is rate limiting, and you can only use queries for a certain amount of queries depending on your subscription. But it gives many more subdomains. So when I ran it, it came back with 725 subdomains. At this stage, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Further, I've added another tool called HTTPX, also by Project Discovery, not to be confused with the other HTTPX, to find the status code and the technologies what they were behind. They all came back as Cloudflare. So I'm pretty sure some of you are laughing hard right now, because this guy, are you living under a rock? Apparently I have. Now, for those that don't know, Cloudflare has a service called R2, which is their cloud storage, the same as Amazon S3. This allows you to run public buckets, so you can host sites on their r2.dev domain. So coming back to, so because this was in front of Cloudflare, let's have a look at the source code. We can see two suspicious URLs there. If you don't look carefully, you'll just think that it's a normal jQuery CDN. But we throw the URL into VirusTotal, and we can see that it's Christmas lights. Looking at the JavaScript, we can see that it's a little bit obfuscated, so me trying to make sense of it is like me trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Not going to happen in a week. But thank goodness for tools out there that can decode it in seconds. So we look at the requests being made. There's a cc.php, OTP, and another OTP. Putting this through Burp Suite, we can see the requests being made. And during the request, I noticed the following, a reference to some bot of some sort. More on this later. Another thing I noticed in that was created by Megalord. What is this? A quick Google search, and it is apparently a hacker for hire. So let's go back to jQuery link. We saw that it was using cloudns.nz. What is cloudns? It is a managed DNS hosting platform where you can create your own subdomain on top of their domains, which is similar to the DNS. And you can point it to any other web hosting platform you wish. So one thing I did was run subfinder against the cloudns.nz and search for the jQuery string across them all. And as you can see, there was multiple subdomains that came back, all on the same IP. So just to confirm, doing a reverse lookup on the IP, it was being hosted at Hostinger. So we go off and we send a takedown notice at CloudNS. And they confirmed that it was marked. I sent through two emails to CloudNS and Hostinger. And again, unfortunately, I could not find any evidence of it. I was like, come on, guys. So I sent another email detailing it. And finally, both of them replied. So I just double-checked to see if the domains would take him down. And we can see that it was not, you could not get to it. A year later, I tried to access it again. The r2.dev domain this time gave a 403 and not accessible. But Cloudflare actually took it down permanently, which was good. So a quick one. To a high-level view of this, you access the r2.dev, which returns the jQuery DNS at CloudNS, and then gets the files from the Hostinger. So we took that one down and that one down. Two more down. Yay, this was fun. Now, you conspiracy theorists out there, you've all ordered something from Takealot, Loot. I've even heard of people opening bank accounts where a few days later you receive an SMS to either make a payment for the courier or to figure your account. So I ordered something from Loot. I got my tracking number on the 23rd. 3 days later, whoa, what is this? Coincidence? Both being rammed there? There has to be something to be investigated here for sure. But I'm not going to go into that here. So as I always do, I go through the whole structure, same structure. Could be the same template because, again, they can't do math. Enter your payment, OTP, and done. More Monopoly money. Behind Cloudflare, look at the source code. That didn't help. So I look at the request, and this time it's actually doing a call to Telegram API. So once you enter your details, it will send a request to a bot. And as we can see there, there's a bot, Telegram bot ID, chat ID, and a whatever you put in the front end, it would send it through. There was a tool that someone wrote with Netlify, but this tool has been since taken down. All you do is just enter the Telegram bot ID, and it will give you the bot information, and you can send a message there. Once you send a message there, it will give you a JSON response, as you can see there below. But in this instance, when I sent my test details there, I didn't receive my one. I saw some other legitimate details there. Could it just be a race condition that I actually saw? I'm not sure. So after investigating some of these R2 dev domains, there was some pattern I noticed with some. They were either using ram.html, cc, or home. So I wrote some code snippets just to go find them on the r2.dev, and it came back with 2. So I thought I'd broaden it a little bit. I created another script which would actually do screenshots using GoWitness, and it came back with 223 screenshots. Most of them being my courier guy, but in there I could see DHL, ABSA, Netflix, and more. I'd got all the source code of those pages to search for the Telegram bots, and as you can see there were quite a different bot IDs in there. Out of the 223, if I remember correctly, there was over 100 unique Telegram bots. Shout out to Sins and Shifty, who at the time decided, hey, it would be fun to try and DDoS them. So I got into the fun too, created a script to overload their chat channel, and after a while it would hit a rate limit. But then after a while, the rate limit would be lifted. It was fun for a while to play with. One thing is to take down Telegram bots is a pain. So if anyone has an easy way to take them down, let me know. So the following I call the litter box of my life, just due to the fact that it's hard to find sites with these domains, but they're all actively hosting phishing sites. Shout out to Things Canary. They have a canary you can use for credit cards, so I like to enter those details in there and just see where the scammer is actually trying to use them. I've seen them to try use it at Netherlands Uber, Google Wallet from Hong Kong, Britain. It is something I definitely want to try look into more. So this got me thinking. It is pretty much an ocean out there with thousands and thousands of phishing sites. I'm interested to see if I can do this from another approach. Can I somehow try and find a way to be proactive and not wait for the links or SMSs? Although in most cases it would be impossible, especially if a site is a compromised site, or being Cloudflare or AWS, just maybe I can find some other method. So let's first talk about reactive and proactive. Reactive is something that has already happened, so you are only solving the problems after the fact. Be it quarantining emails, deleting emails, reporting them. or reporting them to Google Safe Browsing. Proactive is trying to be ahead of them. So things like domain registration, monitoring certificate transparency logs, or preemptive domain registration and monitoring for known patterns. So what do they need? They need a domain, a registrar, or a hosting provider. So this is where I started. I used the service. I looked for a service which is SearchStream. SearchStream is a real-time stream to monitor SSL and TLS certificates. It monitors the updates and deletion and modifications. Various certificate transparency log providers have to. Certificate transparency requires them to log them to a publicly place. These logs help to detect misuse or rogue certificates, and also gives the domain owners visibility in their issued certs. Another one is ZoneStream. This one is similar to SearchStream, but this monitors for DNS zone updates and creations. So first I had a look at SearchStream. CaliDog wrote a tool called SearchStream, which allows you to interact with their service in real time. When I tried to use it at the time, I just used a WebSocket. I don't know if I was doing this correctly, but I left it for a few hours and there were no CT logs. So I wasn't sure if it was me, but I followed some documentation. But so I didn't have any luck, so I just moved on. So I used ZoneStream. ZoneStream is a tool that is developed by Open Intel project, which is an initiative of the University of Twente. They use Apache Kafka, which acts as a message broker, so you can interact with it in real time too. This will just monitor for DNS zone updates on open TLDs and CT logs as well. The only issue is that some registrars and the centralized zone data services don't all post to these, as some of them are gated. So with that successfully connecting to ZoneStream, it was time to get to what I wanted to do with it. I've got to log the data on it, get a dashboard, get some sort of alerts, get the WHOIS data, screenshots, and then all the things after that. Now the question was, where do I log it, ingest the data? I had many database options. It was also like unstructured or structured. This is typically what it would look like, just a bunch of unstructured JSON. So I opted for MongoDB. Now the next step was to also get a front end. With me not being a front end developer, I did not know kind of what front end I wanted. I could basically just do anything, but I eventually decided that because I didn't want to spend hours and hours, and this was just a research, something quick that I wanted to do. I was not a coder, so I decided what the in thing was, and I did vibe coding. Yeah, I remember this is just research at the moment, and I didn't want to figure out spending months and weeks on this. So this is what I came up with, just a little dashboard, no guesses if you can spot the vibe coding in there. So the next step was to get the WHOIS data. What you need is the IP, the ASN, the registrar, the registrant, and the hosting provider, so you can get that information to get takedowns easier. So to get that WHOIS data, I decided to go with the RDAP and whois and IP info. RDAP and whois is used to query domain registration and ownership data, but both of them offer different formats, access and capabilities. RDAP is supposed to be the replacement for the outdated whois protocol. The only issue is that the RDAP does not have all the TLDs in there, so you still need to rely on whois. So in my code, I had to do some logic. If RDAP can't find it, fell over to whois. And even if whois can't find it, I had to fell to IP info. In its current state, it is not 100% working. There's still some logic issues in there. So, yeah. The next one is screenshots. What I want to do is I want to take a screenshot of the first one that I find, and then as time goes on, see if the page updates. Because sometimes when a domain is registered, it'll just be the default of the hosting provider, and then say 2 days later, it will be the phishing campaign. I also want to get the page source code so that when you look at the source code, you can see the different indicators such as the, say for example, the jQuery, or even I've seen with the save as. So this is kind of like what it looked like. You have the domain, when it was registered, and then all the information of the whois and the screenshots. I've been monitoring since about April up until now, and I've logged close to 9 million domains. But remember, this is not all the TLDs. The red that you see there is I've decided to put in weekends there just to see if there was any change in there. As you can see, people actually do have lives. ZoneStream does have unreliability issues, so it's been down about 4 times for me. The latest being last month, which was down for a day or 2. So when it's down, you don't get those domains. So let's move on to my first case. So one of my first examples of successful was, I don't know if the screenshot looks all right, a bit small. Sorry about that. This one was a phishing site, which was to verify your Capitec virtual card. Definitely not sus. Once I saw it, I confirmed it with Capitec, and then I sent a takedown. Yeah, that was a nice feeling. So with me wanting to focus my research on specific things and not try to fix the whole world, what if we just focused on what we have here in South Africa? I first started out on our banks and courier companies, and there are many industries out there. So within ZoneStream, I set up some alerts with certain keywords to look out for certain domains that get registered, and a notification will be sent to my Discord server. So as you can see there, I got a notification for discoveryfickerup.com. Again, not sus, right? So you can see there's a screenshot, gets the whois. I check the page. I go through the whole motion of the logging in and investigating. I send a takedown notice. It got taken down quickly. Another one. So it was time to relook at SearchStream 2 months later because I was having too much fun. So I searched for other alternatives. I found one, SearchStream Server Go, and some other ones in there, SearchSpotter and CTail. But I focused only on the Go and the CTail. Some of the drawbacks of this is you have to host it locally. So it requires bandwidth and disk space, as you can see below there. So unfortunately, I had to run it on my home network. And yes, it was maxing my line almost. Even the database, running SearchStream and CTail, this was just a week or 2 weeks of data, 180 gigs and about 79 gigs respectively. Now, me just having enough for a $5 droplet, this was not going to work, as I did try and it would crash the server. But fortunately, ZoneStream was running 100% on it. So the amount of CT logs being spewed back at me, I found it very overwhelming, even when you're just looking at certain keywords, especially with the CT logs. When you run things like SearchStream, you have an insane amount of data coming in. I still need to find a way to make it less overwhelming. Let's move on to one last one. So I received, this is actually in the last 3 weeks, which is, you'll be surprised. Standardficker.co.za. That doesn't sound sus either. So we get the screenshot. I'll tell you why it was sus. They got a sign-in page. Yeah, you can enter any username and password, and it will go straight to the account verification. Send down takedown notice, and within, I think it was an hour or two, it got taken down. Then these started popping up. Also standard. A cup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I received another one 2 days ago. So sent a takedown notice to the ISP, and I'm going to name drop the ISP. They all come from Namecheap. Okay. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank goodness for Namecheap being so on the ball. So this for me is still a work in progress. In a short space of 2 months, it's been a maze trying to navigate my way through the challenges and trying to figure this out, a way forward. One thing I want to do is be collaborative with the community and see who else this inspires. I came into this research blind, did not know what others are doing out there, so this was me trying to figure it out on my own. It would be nice to collaborate to confirm if a domain is truly spoofed, because you don't want to take down a domain and it's actually legitimate, because there will be consequences for the clients. So I just want to break that barrier and find the channels to find it easier. So to recap, we've looked at some of the examples of phishing attacks, both from compromised domains and from domains set up by scammers. We tried to identify the patterns and see if we could somehow either find them before they are registered or go and hunt for them. With some of the tooling, we were able to find these domains being registered by the scammers and take them down before they even got into play. There are certain challenges that comes with it, such as reporting sometimes or confirming if they are legit or not. And finally, some of the projects that I've seen that has started has died due to the person maintaining it doesn't have the time or the funds or costs for it. So the takeaway I want you that I hope you take from this is that we can start a conversation and maybe us as a community fight this in a way, and maybe it's already been done and I'm just oblivious of it. Thank you for coming to my talk. And I'm under my cutoff. Oh my word, that's amazing. For those that don't know, my dry run was like an hour. So yeah, the dreaded question. No questions from that guy.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Charles Roth. Firstly, well done. We're all very proud of you. Sorry. Charles Roth. Yeah, firstly, I just want to say well done. Proud of you. Second question, I think that's on my mind and a lot of Hack South people's mind is why were we not added to your phishing Discord? That's it.
Because otherwise I can't take credit for the takedowns. No, I'm kidding. Oh my word. Emil. I hate questions.
Sorry, so this one should be quick. I noticed you had timestamps for the initial registration and then the updates as well. Are the phishing sites being updated faster than a usual site? Would that be a possible way of detecting it? Because it seems like it was very quick from registration to being live compared to most companies I know.
That is just the data I get from the certificates, transparency log, and the zone stream.
Yeah, and then the
So I'm not
screenshots
sure.
you had.
Oh, the screenshots
from
is the
nothing?
first one. The first one is when I initially is it. Are you talking about a screenshot?
Yeah, so the screenshot times, they were
Is this-
uploading very,
oh.
very quickly in terms of registration to going live. A lot faster than a normal company would, in my experience.
Yeah,
Would that possibly be a way of detecting them?
maybe yes. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't. Yeah. I don't know who put their hands up first. I'm blind.
Hi, sorry. On the Telegram, how did you manage to find the usernames and passwords, or was just in the code?
From the one screenshot, I think it was a race condition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that
It
actually
was,
get in
it was
the-
accident. I don't know if it was accidental.
Okay.
It was like a coincidence that I saw it.
Thanks.
Unless the channel, the actual chat ID, the actual chat channel is public, then you can see what everyone posts. But usually they are private.
Okay, so for sites which were taken down, have you ever considered building a script that would monitor reactivations?
Sorry.
For sites that were taken down, have you ever considered building a script that would monitor for reactivations?
No, I haven't. Thank you. That's a good one. I don't think they saw you, Emil.
Thanks. While you were doing your research, did you hit any fast flux sites? And I've seen a lot of phishing pages now also using Cloudflare again with bot detection, which would probably nuke all your screenshotting and stuff. Did you hit any of that, and you had any thoughts of sort of a Rev 2 for those?
I've come across that, but I haven't really figured out how to. Yeah, it's just still early days in my research. So, but I did come across, Cloudflare just giving like a front end, so you can't see what is behind it. But I did play around with some tooling, like where you can actually bypass that it bypass that front page. You could actually bypass with like the Chrome headless. There were some tools out there that you could do that. It worked now and then, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Great talk. And I also had a question around the fast flux side. If you are able to also track TTLs where those domains are being hosted, that's also something that could help identify potential fast flux operators.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I haven't looked at fast flux, so that's a good one. Awesome. Thank you very much.